Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 14 years now, we've been asking the Frantrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. Well, we're meeting with Jef Strauss, the co-founder of Wag N Wash Natural Pet Food and Grooming. And Wag N Wash gives pet owners a highly personalized, one-stop shop experience they'd never be able to replicate with big box pet stores or an online retailer. We're going to talk to Jef about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we have a great show.
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach. Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system. Coach. Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed. Consult. Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track. And advise. Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032. That's franchiseteacher.com. Or call us at 561-385-3032.
Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, LLC, and you're listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 14 years now, we've been asking the Frantrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. Well, we're meeting with Jef Strauss, the co-founder of Wag N Wash Natural Pet Food and Grooming. And Wag N Wash gives pet owners a highly personalized, one-stop shop experience they'd never be able to replicate with a big box pet store or online retailer. Hi, Jef. How are you? Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Marty. Good to talk to you again.
Thank you, Jef. It's good to talk to you as well. I didn't realize, Jef, it seems like yesterday to me, but it was actually 7 years ago. I had to look up. I had you and Dan on the show, and I was thinking, I said, how many dog washes have you done over that time, that 7-year period? And since you began, it's got to be in the millions, right?
Millions and millions served.
That's incredible. It really is. It's an amazing story. I remember this story when I had you and Dan on the show the first time. But, since then we've had a lot of new listeners, Jef. Maybe, you can kind of describe the Wag N Wash concept, and how it came to be to our listeners.
So Dan Remus is really the founder. I'm the co-founder of Wag N Wash, and it was really his inspiration and idea. And it really involved a really crazy Dalmatian, a very crazy loving Dalmatian that we had named Jenny. Yeah. And Jenny was really the inspiration behind what we're doing Both of us have always really loved our companion animals and felt like many people that we've always wanted to do the very best for them. So Jenny's story kind of unfolded in that we wanted to do something where we could take Jenny to work.
Yeah.
That kind of crazily led us into the pet industry, and we envisioned a self-wash, and it basically led to grooming and natural foods as both time and our experience unfolded.
It's a great story, Jef. And I imagine you have Jenny's picture somewhere in a Wag N Wash, right? I imagine it's somewhere prominent.
Her picture isn't our picture isn't there, but her picture is in every Wag N Wash.
Isn't that funny? That's how it is, isn't it? It's fantastic. I mean, and it is. It's such a great story, Jef, because, I mean, you were really solving a need that not just you and Dan had, but I mean, it's such a wide market, I mean, and that's how a lot of franchises really come into existence. And I remember you telling me this story the first time, that I think a lot of people were traveling quite a bit of ways to get to your location, weren't they? And then you kind of realized, I guess, that you had something, didn't you?
Yes, we did have people driving maybe 30 minutes or more, and
a lot. With
our first store, they were happy they didn't have to drive out of town to pick up other natural foods. And we thought, well, maybe we do have something, and maybe we should look for a second location.
Yeah.
Which we finally did several years after the first store opened.
The pet, and I think we probably talked about this a long time ago, Jef, but I mean, the pet is really elevated in society. I mean, hasn't it? I mean, I have a friend who got married several years ago, and I remember that, when she took our wedding pictures, the dogs were included in those wedding pictures, and you see that a lot more today, people taking family pictures, and of course, part of the family, isn't it? And it's really impressive, isn't it?
Absolutely. We were just at a wedding in eastern central Pennsylvania of my cousin, and her golden doodle was the ring bearer. So.
Wow. Isn't that fantastic? I mean, it is. It's great now. The pet is really elevated in society, and it's really, dogs, cats are part of the family. What and how would you say that the pet industry is doing right these days, Jef?
One thing I think that our industry is actually getting is, as Dan and I have always felt, that food is really the foundation for health. And I think even some of these larger, more mass manufacturing companies have really looked at, probably in a lot of ways, the growth in the natural pet food industry, but really just what they're putting in their foods, and I think that they're trying to even make some better decisions on what goes into the bags or the boxes or the cans, and we're really seeing that across the board. So I'm delighted to say that your choices today are far better than they were 10 or especially even 20 years ago.
I always say, Jef, I wish God gave more time for our pets, right? I mean, but it's interesting. Are pets living, you would know better than I, are pets living longer today? I was always told, the number for our dog, I guess, is like 7 years, right? Equivalent to a human life. But, are pets living a little bit longer today?
I wish I could, absolutely calculate that without a fact checker.
Yeah, sure.
I'm hoping so. I know that, one of our pets that we, adopted from a local shelter, when she was less than a year old, she was almost 100 pounds, but she lived until she passed her 17th birthday.
Wow.
So I think between, just, I guess like us, watching your nutrition, how much you eat, your exercise, that really does help with health and longevity.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking, Jef. Like I see, like in our neighborhood, I'll see people, like running with their pets and things like that, and taking them to the park, and just even going in the car, if you're just going out, it's and I just was curious about that, because it would make sense. Wag N Wash, what impressed me was the culture of Wag N Wash. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about the culture.
Dan and I have always felt like, coming into one of our stores, it should be an experience and not drudgery, like not just shopping. So, it all starts from hiring people who are passionate about, I think it works the same in franchisees, really. Finding people who are really passionate about pets and that, really understand our mission, for promoting and fostering the positive impact that companion pets and their humans have on one another. That symbiotic relationship is really important. And again, that goes down to our hiring and our training and our, all the screening that we do. And again, I can't say that's any different in a lot of ways than we do with, working on the franchise side of our business.
Yeah. Is that I would imagine anyway, it's the number one criteria that you and Dan look for, Jef, when you're meeting with a prospective franchisee to Wag N Wash. That passion is paramount, isn't it?
It is. We want to find people who we can continue to expand the footprint, and we want locally owned and operated stores. For people who really know their own communities, that they're qualified, that they they have an ambition and skill set to succeed. They understand a little bit about marketing and merchandising. Although we're eager and anxious to help them, we really feel qualified through our many years of experience to be able to take those the challenges and opportunities that we've had and the mistakes that we've made as well, so that people aren't repeating those.
Yeah. And what's interesting about your business for your franchisees, Jef, is, yes, you have a relationship with your customers, but of course you have those relationships, I guess, that you develop with pets over time. I imagine that you and your franchisees, they get to see some of these pets from when they're I guess we could say, if we're talking about a dog, like a puppy, almost all the way to, that full life cycle, right? Towards the end, and that's got to be very special, isn't it?
It is. It's, I wish they did. I think everybody wishes their companions lived longer, but they certainly teach us a lot. And I think that it is really important, and to create that bond, not only with the companion, but, with their humans who make the decisions for their companions and help, guide them along into what we believe are better decisions. And, I think it's just really, I guess in my retail experience growing up in a family business, it's like having people walk into your home, and you want to do the right thing and suggest the right things, and that's that is really part of our training as well. That we want people to come in and to stay. We want people to remain customers, and we want to be able to meet their meet whatever challenges that may be thrown at us from whatever happens in the store.
Right. I teach marketing, Jef, for Purdue University in their global division, and I always kind of compare, I think of a puppy, like when you walk into a home and how a puppy runs up to you and or a dog, and they're so happy to see you, and I always talk about making people feel welcome, and I know that Wag N Wash has that same philosophy, don't they?
Yes, I think that. I just keep it akin to the same thing what you just said. These people are walking into our home, and how am I going to treat them when they're walking into our home? Right.
Yeah, we just like you said, we can learn so much from our pets, can't we, Jef?
We can.
That's fantastic. I know you have hundreds of stories. This is always a tough question, Jef. But what's one of the most interesting things that's happened to you since launching Wag N Wash? I imagine we could talk all day about that. But does anything kind of stand out over the years?
One of the things that I'm really proud of is that I have two brothers, and they were our first franchisees. And
wow.
Steve and Rich,
that's great.
Had seen what Dan and I had started, and about 14 years ago, probably about when you started this. Yeah, right. They decided that this would be the right thing for them to do, and we both had the same. All three of us have the same background and the same feeling for people and guests and companions. So they opened a store in Phoenix and have since opened a second store in the market in Scottsdale. I'm really proud of them and how well they're doing. It's been, so far it's been an incredible year for our entire system. We're actually experiencing a 10.6% increase for the first 4 months of 2021 compared to 2020. That's incredible. It's been amazing, but people are fostering, and people have adopted so many more companion animals during this last unfortunate year.
Yeah. What's the outlook, Jeff? I mean, for Wag N Wash. I mean, if you can look into a crystal ball, maybe 3 years, 5 years. I remember, when I interviewed you and Dan for the first time, that you didn't want to get too big too fast, and I thought that was very clever. But what is the outlook? I mean, if you can look into that crystal ball.
We'd still like to. I mean, our brand goal is to have 50 locations by 2025. I mean, hopefully we'll make that, and we're rooting for that. But again, I think to us having the right partners is more important than having more partners. And we take it to heart that our franchisees are really putting their life savings into a business that they want to see succeed, and we want them to succeed. And so it's a very important, franchising is a very important partnership, and it's a very expensive partnership. Right. And we want to see that these people, we can screen them and that they can do as good as they can do, and they feel as comfortable with us as they can.
That's terrific. Are you and Dan still involved in like the new product development? I remember last time we spoke, Jeff, I was saying, I saw some of the food and I said, it looked good enough for a human to eat. I mean, are you still involved in that process of like new product development, like new products that come out and things like that?
We haven't really, the people that we've been really doing a little bit of work with sold their food company several years ago. So we haven't really been doing as much of that. But, when people still ask us about what we'd like to see in foods and what we'd like not to see in foods, I can have a pretty big mouth and be very vocal about what I think.
That's great. That's fantastic. So what advice, Jeff, would you give, for our listeners, specifically, those who are interested in buying a franchise, but more specifically getting into the pet industry? From everything you've learned up to this point, what advice would you give to them?
The first thing I would say is that you have to feel passionate about what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And as much as I like people to become Wag N Wash franchisees, I just always feel like if you really don't feel, if you're a passionate person but not passionate about pets, then follow your passion in the direction you're going. So selfishly, I hope they're passionate about pets when they talk to us. But if they conclude that or we conclude that, it's better they have a better direction than what we're doing. I think that there's plenty of people out there who are passionate about pets. I think, again, we need to have people who are, realistic, who understand a little bit about running a business, running, with Generation X employees, running, thinking out of the box, being open-minded, being able to deal with online ordering and, online, congratulations and complaints and dealing with the digital world and kind of that married digital brick and mortar universe that we're kind of merging together. Yeah. So, and I just have to also give a shout out that we're working on I believe we just signed the lease. We also have a new president who's doing fabulous, Kristen Ruby, who was our former VP of marketing, who hit the ground running. I can't say enough about Kristen as our new pack leader. She is absolutely fabulous. And I started to say, we have a new store opening in St. Louis. So it'll be the first Missouri location of Wag N Wash, and
that's exciting.
We are very excited to be in the St. Louis metro.
That's fantastic. What's the best way, Jeff, for our listeners to get more information on Wag N Wash? Of course, there's the franchise opportunity, but even the service itself. Are there any websites you want to direct them to?
Sure. I think it's franchise.wagonwash.com.
Okay.
And there's, a whole bunch of, there's all kinds of information. I think it may talk about breakdown of sales departmentally, some other, scratching the surface items. Right. And then, then we're always happy to talk to people who are interested in franchising.
That's fantastic. Well, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed talking to you again, Jeff, and I'd really like to invite you back over the next several years as Wag N Wash continues to grow, because I think you have a wonderful franchise opportunity there.
Thanks, Marty. I appreciate you having us back again, and we're happy to talk anytime.
This has been my pleasure, Jeff. And we'll be right back with more franchise interviews. Coming up on segment 2, you're going to hear what every franchipreneur needs to know before buying a franchise. We're going to play a clip from our popular Great Quotes in Franchising podcast right here on Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
Today's great quote in franchising is being brought to you by
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
Hi everyone, this is Marty McDermott, the president of Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. You know, we've been hosting Franchise Interviews many years now, and during that time we've had some incredible quotes and lessons on our show. And if you go to our About Us page on franchiseinterviews.com, you'll take notice on why we started the podcast and radio show Franchise Interviews, and it suggests that every business has a story, and that's really been our experience in doing all of these podcasts and radio shows. Is every show we do, you'll notice that every franchisor, every franchisee has an amazing story related to franchising. Today's Great Quote in Franchising podcast comes from Tony Luffy, and Tony Luffy is the Chief Executive Officer of the Marleau Investment Group. And the Marleau Investment Group are franchise owners of some very popular franchise systems such as Little Caesars, Sizzler, Jack in the Box, Arby's, Church's Chicken, and most recently Sears Appliance and Hardware stores. And Tony talks about the difference between opportunity and regret. There's another great quote relating to opportunity. And again, we talk a lot about opportunity on our weekly radio show. It's said that luck is when opportunity meets preparation. But let's hear what Tony says about the difference between opportunity and regret.
That we've been able to do on a large scale.
It's amazing. If you go back to the beginning, Tony, I mean, were your goals, I mean, today, I mean, you're as large as like 200 plus units, but I mean, back then, I mean, when you go back to the beginning, I mean, was that your goal in the beginning, or was this kind of like just like a natural progression over time?
It's both. Really, when I, in the early 90s, when I finally became a partner, a 10% partner of a small company, I wanted to get to 50 units before I turned 50. So I don't know if that goal was really feasible in my head, but that was the dream. But the goal, the most important part of it was I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I wanted to be independent, and I wanted to allow my ability to manage people and work with people to develop into something that was bigger. I didn't know the size, nor did I plan for it to be a number of revenue, whether it's 10 million or 5 million, whatever it was.
Right,
it was really finding a way to make a living and support my family, at the same time satisfying my personal need, which is to be an entrepreneur. And really, once that took place, it was more about the opportunities that came our way. And I always say the difference between opportunity and regret is being ready. So if you're ready, you see the opportunity as an opportunity. Otherwise, you spend a lifetime regretting the fact that you missed the opportunity. So to me, it's about being ready. And I've always worked so hard to make sure that we are ready for whenever that opportunity came our way.
That's fantastic. We have this great quotes and franchising podcast. We're gonna put that quote in there, Tony, if you don't mind. I think that's very powerful. Maybe we could talk a little bit about your company. I mean, the Marlowe Investment Group. I mean,
if you'd like to hear that whole interview with Tony Luffy, all you have to do is go to franchiseinterviews.com, and you can go to our franchises listed alphabetically page and simply go to the Marlowe Investment Group, and you can hear that whole interview. We have that interview also in our About Us page, and you can go to franchise interviews by category as well and go under the food category, because that's where most of Tony's franchises are located within his portfolio. And lastly, we'd just like to thank everyone for making this podcast such a tremendous success. It's amazing how many people have listened to the podcast over the years, so it's really been wonderful, and we'll see you again soon with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising from Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.